Before we get started on today's episode, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded, the land of the Darug people. We would like to acknowledge and pay respects to our elders past and present and the next generation coming through. Now, onto today's episode. Welcome to the Level Asian podcast. We're doing a slightly different episode format where we sit down with each other and discuss experiences around growing up as Asian Australians. This time, it's just without guests. We've also asked our listeners to submit some topics they'd like us to cover through our Instagram page, which we will cover as well today. But first, we'd like to recap the last 4 months which we've had since launching the podcast. I think today is actually our launch anniversary.
Oh,
so
wow.
the first,
I didn't even know.
So our first episode was released on May 30th. With Philip Lau, the Commonwealth Games.
You can get a round of applause.
Yeah.
It's all for the guys at Social Wave. You guys have done a lot, so thanks, Noel.
You're welcome.
And then we'll also be covering the details of how much it costs us to run this whole production, numbers and all. Ready to get straight into it?
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So,
Well, you want to get into numbers first, right?
Oh, numbers.
I think I find it really interesting because, even when I think about when I wanted to go traveling, when I want to run a business, I always want to know numbers. And like people just don't publish
Say the numbers.
Yeah.
Or they're very vague with the numbers. So I think
give
it's
me
useful.
specifics.
Yeah, it's useful to be very specific here. And I think a lot of people don't actually even realize, I imagine, how expensive it is to run a podcast. We were just doing the numbers. We were shocked at how expensive it was.
Well, let's look at like how many have we released? How many people did we interview as well? So do you guys have numbers on that?
So far, we've got a whole backlog list of 35 episodes that we've recorded. And then there's also 19 episodes that have been released since. Other than that, we've also grown on Instagram. We went from 0 followers all the way up to, at the moment, we stand at 3,000, over 3,000 followers. TikTok, we've just surpassed 12K. And YouTube, we've also grown from scratch. So we're sitting on just over or just under 700 subscribers.
And view counts? Like overall?
View counts, I think from last time I looked at it, it was about, TikTok was something stupid. It was like, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. But like, for example, we had a few videos hit, like, Selena's one was like 2.1 million. Yeah. So we're talking probably like 8 figures, like, close to 10 million views on TikTok. And I didn't even know Instagram. I don't know if you would know. Yeah. But I know YouTube for a fact. Like, if you factor in YouTube Shorts, we're probably doing about, 25,000, views a month. And then, if you take out YouTube Shorts, just the episodes themselves, we're, probably doing, 3,000 or 4,000 per month as well.
And then I think average downloads for Buzzsprout, which is the platform that we post our audio
podcast.
Podcast on. And then it goes across like Apple, Spotify, etc. But we're doing around 400-500 average downloads per episode.
Yeah, I think a bit more. So if you go back to like some of the older episodes. Yeah. But yeah, I think I was looking at it on a monthly level. We're doing about 3,000 to 4,000 downloads or listens across all the audio platforms. Yeah, I think it goes ups and downs. But, I'd say on average 3,000 to 4,000. So yeah, when you combine YouTube and all the audio platforms, we're probably looking at about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 on a good month.
So the next question is, how much money have we made?
I don't know. You're the accountant, so
So
the numbers.
The answer is 0. We haven't made a cent. It's true, right? We haven't made a cent, have we?
Nor have we had a focus on monetization, at least not in the short run. So I think the point of the podcast for us is we want to pay it forward. We want to give back. This is very much so a passion project because we run our own businesses as well. And the fortunate thing for us, which I think a lot of, and a lot of like even podcasters, Asian podcasters are probably listening to this, is that it's really hard to run a podcast. People think you just plug in a microphone and you just record yourself and then you release. It's not like that. Particularly for us when we're doing video and audio as well. It takes a small village to make this work, right? And we definitely do it at a larger scale. And that's because fortunately we've got businesses that can bootstrap this whole thing.
Yeah, 100%. And so our businesses have put in money to make sure that this works. So let's actually go into the numbers of this. So we started in April, right?
Pre-launch April.
Yeah, April, and now it's October. So we spent about $7,388.01 on miscellaneous stuff. So
those are, because we probably, spent most of that on I think Noel with like production and, you know, the set.
Yeah, all this furniture. So basically turning this empty warehouse into a set that can comfortably accommodate, you know, 4 guests.
Doing a lot of IKEA versus luxury brand comparisons.
In honest opinion, you guys didn't spend enough on alcohol. There's only like $40 on alcohol. How is that?
Well, that's because most of the guests actually aren't alcohol drinkers.
Yeah,
right?
that's
I think
true.
we were quite surprised. Actually, you drank most of the alcohol. Maybe we should bill that over to you. But, you know, that was like, you know, I guess you categorize it as entertainment. Then we had the set. What else did we have? We had like obviously just general hosting costs, right?
Yep. And we had the clothing.
Yeah, so all of the Level Asian shirts that you're seeing us wear now,
Yep.
You know, each of our guests get one each, but I think, you know, we're rolling out, you know, this for sale, merchandise for sale as
So
well.
who's doing our merchandising? We should shout out to him.
So Ray from ACID and his team have been doing a great job at printing very, very high quality t-shirts. And we'll also be working together with ACID to create more of our merchandise, which will be posted up on our merch store coming soon, hopefully by 2023.
No, the shirts are really good quality.
Really soft.
I wear it to bed.
You wear it to bed?
I do. I sleep in these shirts, so they're very comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they're also cool enough to wear outside.
Yes, yeah. Don't wear it. It's not the point. It's not sleepwear, but yeah.
But you just don't change and have showers. So that's why.
Anyway, moving on. What else have we spent money on?
All right. We spent money on like that event at Banjo Bar. So shout out to Banjo Bar for having us there.
Well, also, shout out to Dropbox as well, because I would say we did spend a bit, but certainly not as much as Dropbox. They definitely came to the party there.
Yep.
Big focus on diversity, particularly Asian representation as well. So I think Bree and the team, big shout out to these girls for helping make this happen.
Just for context, for anyone that doesn't know what Bancho Bar is, what we did was we did a sponsorship by Dropbox with Level Asian, and we ran a small networking event where we got all of our guests, all of our own networks to come together and just celebrate being Asian Australians and get to know each other in the space.
Yeah. We're definitely doing more of this. It's just a very small soft launch that we did. We didn't want to make it too big because it would just be too much because we're releasing a lot of videos and podcasts. So yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, there's definitely some big projects coming up with events, you know, where we'll sort of open that up to everyone and anyone who's interested in attending. Obviously, it'll be in Sydney because we're based in Sydney, but, you know, we sort of have to take it one step at a time.
So that was just a small number that I have, $7,388. I didn't actually speak about the big numbers. So that was the smallest one out there. The second biggest number is rent. So obviously, you know, me and Can, we've taken over this factory, but we do take a portion of that. And we spend 2 days here filming and, you know, doing whatever we need to do for the podcast here. So if we apportion just on interest alone, we're paying about $11,200 so far for April to October.
Yep.
So that's a big cost, but it's worth it because now we have our own set. We don't have to move it. Definitely saves Noel's time because Noel complains when we have to
Reset.
Yeah.
Ain't that right, Noel?
I complain about a lot of things. And this is one of them.
It's good. It's good having this space.
Actually, I just want to point out real quick because people will be watching this and they'll be like, Noel's got this like ash blue hair. Because this episode's going to go up before Christmas, you guys will see it. So we're not going to give too much information away, but just so you know, it is for a Christmas special.
It kind of blends into the sound blackens behind me, so it's fine. It's just camouflage.
That's the second cost. And the biggest cost, do you guys want to guess what it is?
Well, we kind of know what it is, Danny. Don't make it like a surprise, I think, for other people.
Okay, for other people, do you guys want to guess? Just have 3 seconds to guess. It's $135,552. Have a guess what you think it is. It's bloody Vivian's pay. That's not all Vivian's pay, but we have like a producer, we have a creative producer, we have an editor, and we obviously have a director that, you know, put in their man hours or labor costs. So we added that all up from April to October, and it added up to about $135,552. And now you're probably wondering, what the heck are you thinking we're doing? I don't know.
You might want to explain that process in terms of the production.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should explain
the details behind the process.
Yeah,
of
like how many
everything.
hours and how this whole thing works. So what do you do from start to finish?
Okay. I think even just before we launched, we were doing a lot of set design, a lot of finding all the furniture just to be able to create this for one. And then from there on, we had a lot of meetings that entailed finding different guests. We had a whole dream guest list that a lot of our guests still get sent out. And that just, we had to trawl through and contact all of these people that we wanted on the podcast. From there, when we actually were leading up to launch, it meant recording, building up a buffer for how many episodes we could. That means recording a lot of episodes before we launch and also trying to edit a lot of them, just so we're not doing week to week production and scrambling for deadlines. And then it was coming up with questions, doing research with the guests, then recording, then post-producing. So post-producing, we take it into the editing room. We have to go through that just over 1 hour episode and cut out anything that might be sensitive information or someone's slipped up.
It's usually Davey's Freudian slips.
Yep, 100%.
And then you would have seen a lot of our reels and our TikToks. So that process is arguably a lot longer than I'd say the pillar. So the pillar is the long form episode. The TikTok snippets include pulling out the most juicy parts of our episode or the most interesting or educational. And then we just keep that part entertaining. So that helps grow our socials as well. Outside of that, we've got reviewing the episodes, uploading the episodes, doing the episode copy. We've got scheduling other, I guess, the snippets and the TikToks that you guys see, as well as events. What else is there? There's a whole range. Doing the merchandise.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it is probably, you know, I would say the filming is probably the most time efficient part of it. Mm-hmm. But the pre-production and the post-production is what takes a lot of time, because oftentimes, you know, we need to line up the guests. You need to obviously prep them up.
Exactly.
And then, you know, a lot of research goes into it. Mm-hmm. We don't just turn up and just randomly ask questions. We try and understand our guests very well. And then the post-production, like Viv said, is really just on, you know, particularly around the reels and the social media play. That's how we've been able to grow organically. I think we only recently started tinkering at. I haven't even added the cost of ads. We've just started working on TikTok ads.
Oh, wow.
Which is probably about $600 that we spent so far. But going back to the whole post-production thing, it's, you know, a lot of that is the labor hours of editing, you know. So we've sort of apportioned that. But yeah, that number, it does surprise me, that number. But it also doesn't surprise me because of the amount of hours and effort we put into it as well. So,
but did we know that it's going to cost this much?
No, because if I knew it, I wouldn't have started this podcast.
Come on,
No, I'm just kidding. But
we did plan it.
We did plan it, but you know, and we did feasibility studies. Like I think we definitely took a very business approach to the podcast, because I think the thing that we noticed at least was the sustainability of podcasts. Right, podcast is just a consistency thing. If you turn up every week, your sort of quality stays the way it's supposed to stay, then naturally it's going to grow, and we're seeing that already. But, you know, of course, you know, like I said, it takes a small village to, you know, get this thing off the ground and get it going.
So what was our plan? Like, how much did you think we budgeted?
To be honest, I don't think I did really do any budgeting.
No, you did. I think it worked out to be.
Oh, you're talking about the feasibility study?
Yeah,
So the feasibility study worked out to be like $400,000 across the year.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we're like 6 months in, and it's cost in total. So 7,300 plus 135 plus 11,200 adds up to 154,140. So we're not that far off.
Okay. Yeah.
We're not that far off.
I mean, definitely it was more conservative, that feasibility study as well. So, you know, 100K give or take for a full year. Yeah.
Yeah. 154,000. So that's 6 months only. So you annualize it or times it by 2.
Yeah, just over
300K.
Yep.
And we said 400K. Kind of makes sense. And obviously we haven't spent all the money as well, so we still probably have another 6 more months, and the expenses are going to keep going higher and higher because you know, output's going to be better. So yeah, we need to make money fast.
So anyone who's looking to sponsor the podcast, come through.
Please, it's expensive.
It is, but it's all right. We'll get there.
But look, it's not all about the money as well. I think the point of sharing how much it costs is, number one, to bring some awareness. I think anyone who's tried running a podcast would know. Certainly a lot of people don't do podcasts, you know, are curious. And I think this is just part of it, you know, and we get responses and questions about this all the time when we talk to people. But also I think understand the business side of podcasting as well. Because this thing is, if we're going to have genuine impact, which is what we're here for, we can't just be a flash in the pan and do this for a year or two and then decide that we have to pack things up because, you know, it's costing us too much.
Yeah, and you should analyze the numbers and record it, because that helps you decide what you should spend on and what you shouldn't spend on as well. So we got to get rid of your wage can.
I don't think I'm the expensive line item in there, am I?
Oh, you're not actually. It's actually Noel. Noel's the most expensive here. But we need him. We gotta get don't know. I don't know about
not
you,
that
though.
expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting thing to share as well. And I think it's I enjoy the transparency. I appreciate transparency when it comes to these sort of things, because someone who I'm sure there's people listening who are aspiring or already doing podcasts. They probably want to know how this all works as well, how much we're spending on it as well.
Yeah, I guess like a lot of podcasts that were here like last year I've heard have closed down.
Yeah, we've spoken to quite a few.
Yeah.
And they've gone a couple of years or 3 years and
it's tough. So like it's important to be transparent, tell everyone like how we're going, but have a plan as well. So there is a time where we're thinking of monetizing. We've been in talks about it always. We started from the start talking about monetizing, and we have to. So I just appreciate if people are understanding that we have to monetize one day, and there's got to be some sort of solution to this, because we can't keep releasing all these really great episodes and having, podcast guests pitch in their hours and not do a good job of it, talk about their story. How are we monetizing?
Well, I mean, like the shirts itself, that's obviously, I think, just like any brand or media company, you have multiple revenue streams. So we're, considering obviously the apparel, the merchandise, it's a way of supporting us as well when we do release that. Those of you who follow Kevin from Sydney Food Boy would have seen him repping the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
In the recent YouTube video. And I think there was a few people already asking. Yeah. So
a lot of DMs, a lot
of DMs.
Wow,
Yeah.
Really? So that's good. I'm excited.
So there's interest in the apparel. And I think outside of apparel, we're obviously, the obvious thing is sponsorship and advertising for the podcast itself. And we've had some interest there as well. And then obviously the events, we'll be running them as ticketed events as well. We're not here to make a huge profit. I think it's mainly just for us to support it and let us to keep going. Like I don't think one event is going to be enough. We're going to need, ongoing momentum. And then, obviously outside of that, whether it's, say through YouTube, we've got some exciting projects with, coming out with some video series that are not podcast specific, but more to do with like for the YouTube channel, when that stuff grows.
We're also exploring options of how to create exclusive content for Patreon subscribers as well.
That's right.
So that'll be exciting.
So yeah, if anyone wants to, I think eventually, I don't know if it's going to be out by the time the podcast comes out, but a Patreon just as a small, whatever you can afford to support, it would mean a lot. But look, we're not desperate, but I think it's one of those things where the business side of podcasting again is not cheap. So any support would be great.
Speaking of impact of the podcast and making an impact, what is our overall goal here? I know we've got a lot of stuff in the works, but yes, it is a podcast, but where are we taking this?
We sat down with Noel here as well, and we initially said that we did this because, when we were young, we wanted something like this. And we wanted someone to inspire us. We wanted to listen to someone that have been through the problems that we went through when we were young, being Asian and growing up. And we just didn't have anyone to talk to. So it's just the same case here. Now tell us what.
No, I think it is. I think it's, I tell people this is the podcast we wish we had when we were young. And what does that mean? It just means that, I think we grew up not knowing what was possible, and bringing these guests on the show was a way to show people, hey, it's entirely possible for you to be an artist, a politician, a business owner, a sports person, whatever, right? Like whatever your goals are, as opposed to fulfilling the Asian prophecy of being an accountant.
Yes.
Right?
That's cool too.
It is cool, which is fine if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
And so there's an element of self-awareness, but I think the whole point of all of this is to, I guess, essentially give people permission to pursue what it is that they want to do as well. It's to inspire
the next generation.
Correct. And we were talking about this off camera just before coming in. You were saying, obviously, you've been speaking to a lot of people, and what they do sort of lack in terms of access is someone who may give them, that sort of guiding principles and guiding light in terms of where they want to be as well. So, we can only do so much one-to-one. So this is a platform that we can sort of spread one to many. And then going back to Viv's point about, what's the ultimate goal is like, we essentially want to be the Huffington Post of, Asian Australian media, or that's at least the goal now, right? Like, and what that does mean is that podcast is only one portion of that. We eventually, like I said, the YouTube channel and, sort of really growing content there, really showcasing a lot of Asian Australians on a visual level. But also our publication, journalists, we're going to be, written content as well as, being a brand, so the apparel, some of that stuff, like we want to build a community, and we want to bring everyone together, because I think there's a lot of fragmentation amongst the Asian community here in this country as well.
Yeah.
We sort of stick within our subgroups, and we don't really actually come together.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What's your favorite episode?
I was about to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
I think I liked all of them. But
Such a politician answer. I liked all of them. Yeah.
But I think the one with Brie Bunzel and Lee Tran from Dropbox, that was a pretty good episode, just because of their experience and their viewpoints, as well as both of them were just kind of working through being kids, understanding their identity, and now where they stand with it. Another good episode, I'm trying to think. I really enjoyed Phil's episode, which was the first one.
Yeah, I was going to say,
fun.
Phil was my favorite.
Yeah.
Partly because he was the rock star. He was the rock star that kicked it off, and he lifted it. He gave us, like, I don't know what it was about that episode, but he gave me some sort of like I thought this is what I dreamed of, and he surpassed the dream of what the podcast could be. And I was like, holy crap, we can actually do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, he just had a good personality. He just had a good story. And he was just a fun guy to be with. Yeah, it's insane.
He was like the perfect first guest.
Yeah, he was like the gateway drug guest into the level Asian drug.
And Phil listens to pretty much every episode as well, so I'm sure he's listening to this as well. Appreciate him coming to the party, I guess, with this first episode, because I don't think he even knew what he was getting himself into with this thing, right?
100%.
Yeah, could have turned out really badly for him. But I know he's like traveling around the world right now. But I really enjoyed Phil's episode. I think obviously Viv and I talk about this all the time, but the interview we had with Elisa Choi.
Yeah, that one was really good.
Fantastic. Just obviously Elisa being sort of a public speaker was amazing. But I think her whole story around coming out to her mum, I'm not gay, so I can't relate to that. But I sat there, listening to her, and I can see a lot of people understanding and relating to what she went through, like having to like work up the courage to tell your parents something that you knew that they wouldn't accept necessarily, and then to candidly talk about how she was essentially like estranged from her mum for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like it's, and like parenting relationships, which is a big topic that a lot of people have been asking us for more content of. I heard that, and obviously, like insane, like just
like her story is insane, because like it's not even just that part too. It's like they're very close, right? Her mum and herself, and it's partly because she went through a bit of sickness as well, and it's just like that's just like what we go through, like in our families and our life as well. So it's a lot of things we can learn from that podcast. Yeah, and I have to admit, that was a really good podcast as well. Too bad I was on it. I wasn't invited.
Well, there'll be a round two, maybe.
What was your favorite episode, Noel?
My favorite episode was a recent one we did with Nancy Yu, the artist.
This is the first time he was actually in a podcast.
No, I wasn't.
He wasn't even in this one.
He wasn't even in the podcast. Why weren't you in that podcast?
Reasons.
Oh, okay.
Because we're running a business, and we also had to disperse our team.
We had to make money.
Yeah, we had to make money.
Yeah.
But Nancy was lovely. She brought some gifts. Not a lot of guests bring gifts for us, so it was really
We
nice.
haven't had any gifts before.
Yeah, she was the first to bring some gifts. We had some mooncake and some like awesome handmade
Very sweet, yeah.
books that she made, which is awesome.
It's very nice.
And she also brought her own artwork, her own, this piece, really beautiful piece that she made. So yeah, it was a good episode. And obviously, being into art stuff. So it was a good episode for me.
Did you want to talk about memories?
My favorite memory. I wonder what is my favorite memory. I think there was one time, but this was the funniest thing ever. So it's nothing like inspirational or anything. We had a guest that came on and she cried, and then Can's like, well, on to the next topic. Oh my God. Whoa, hang on a second. He just went straight into the next topic, and I just couldn't stop laughing inside how funny that was.
Speaking of that episode, though, that's coming out this week. So by the time this episode's released, you would have seen it.
Sorry, Jen.
Yeah, sorry, Jen. I really like that episode as well, because she opened up about a lot of parental relationships that she had and the expectations around that. But anyways, as you were saying,
yeah, it was just a funny experience, because that was probably the first time we've experienced that, right? And
you're not gonna sit there and just stare at her while she's crying.
But the tissues are right next to Davey anyways. He could have just reached back and grabbed one.
I didn't know where the
Well,
tissue
actually,
box was.
Just going off that, my memory of that was then also you going to pee halfway through that episode.
Oh, yes, I had to go.
I don't know what's worse,
Oh,
me doing that or you going to pee halfway. So any of those people who see Davey walking about 2/3 into the episode out of the shot, he went to go pee because he couldn't hold his fucking bladder in.
And there was no way to cut around that either. It was just,
Yeah, he couldn't do
it
anything
was
with
just
it.
an abrupt.
I held it for a very long time, all right, guys? I'm sorry, but I really needed to go to the bathroom and I drank too much water at that time. So apologies. So was that your favorite fun memory?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it was a memory. Yeah.
That's true. I did. I actually forgot that.
Sorry,
I actually
Jen.
meant to tell
Again.
her. Oh man, how rude of me. Sorry, Jen.
Anyway, what was that? Any more memories?
Do you want to go? What's your favorite memory from the podcast so far?
God, maybe you go first. Have you got one?
Nope.
It's all a blur, to be honest.
Yeah, it is all a blur.
It's gone
so
It's
fast.
gone very fast. Look, I think my memories are really just look. I think not necessarily podcast memory, but the event, like the event at Bunch Bar was. And I remember Bree pulling a few of us aside, and she was like, "Just pause, and look what we've done." It was a very sentimental moment. Like Bree's, like I love Bree for that, and she said, look what we've created. And it was a very proud moment. It was like a moment where, we felt like, oh, all this hard work we've done is paying off now. And there's like no tangible result or anything I can say. It's like, we're profitable.
No,
and things like that.
there is a memory that you guys don't stop talking about. Come on, what about the Yumcha experience?
Oh, no, that was a very recent one. And I use that because I use that more for like pitching.
Wait, what was the Yumcha experience?
It was where we were lining up for Yumcha in Carlingford.
Oh.
And I say that because, a lot of people go, we're talking to Rich as well from Ultrafade and how he sort of gets approached. You get approached randomly sometimes because people recognize your YouTube videos. And it was like the first time I was like, oh shit, people actually recognize us.
Yeah.
Like random people who we don't know who they are.
And it's funny because like we don't expect it because like we just do this because we want to inspire, but we're not doing
it for the limelight, that's for sure.
It's weird. Like, did you feel weird?
I don't know. What was your reaction?
It happened so fast. I was just like,
She was
oh.
just blinking at it and she was like, thank you.
I think we're all just.
For context, what happened actually? We didn't even explain what
Well,
happened.
three of us it was like
So it was on a Sunday when we were filming with.
Jason Om.
No, this was 2 shoots. We had two shoots on a
just
Sunday.
before I Can Study.
Yeah, so we had guests that were from interstate who were only available on a weekend. So we were filming on a Sunday. And in between, we were really hungry and went to Yumcha in Carlingford, just up the road, and were just waiting in line. It was a really busy day, like, every weekend is. And we had a random stranger come up to us and she said, excuse me, are you guys from Level Asian?
Yeah.
And mainly recognized Viv, I think. And
It's because I was wearing the shirt.
Pretty
was wearing the
you know?
shirt. Yeah, and she was
generic
she
faces.
sent us a really lovely message later on DMs.
No, she sent that before. She
sent that
She had
before.
messaged us in
I
the
sent
morning.
you a
That's
DM that
right.
same morning, so it was a
Yeah.
pure coincidence.
Yeah.
And she
It was
sent
like-
this very long DM message, and it was a very sweet message. It was something along the lines of like, I love the podcast. I discovered it, and one of the things that I remember her saying was, this is a podcast that I would make sure that my kids listen to as well, which goes back to the whole thing about this is a podcast we wish we had when we grew up as well. So it was a very sentimental.
Yeah. It
I
was
mean,
like
I actually didn't.
serendipity.
I wasn't because she handed us her business card as well. I thought she's trying to sell me property because she's a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, so I took the business card, and then Viv eventually found the DM because it was like buried into like requests and stuff like that. And it was very sweet. She didn't have any agenda, but yeah, that particular moment was quite surprising. We didn't
That was
expect
good memory for me. I wasn't there, but like when you guys told me,
Seem to be missing from a lot of these memories.
yeah, hey man, I got a business to run.
So do you?
Yeah, I do as well.
Oh,
Davey's
probably
just
hungover.
hungover on Sundays and doesn't do episodes on
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm hungover on weekends. Okay, sorry.
Have you got any
No,
others?
I was literally going to say my favorite memory was also Bancho Bar. We were just able to see everything come together. Physically, everyone was in the room, everyone we had recorded with, or most people we had recorded with, and been in touch with who celebrated the podcast just as much as we did.
It's so
yeah.
nice to get that support and people who actually put in time on their busy schedule to actually come. I was just so like every time that someone came in, I was like, thanks so much for coming because I actually didn't think you would come because I know you're running a business or doing something like inspiring. So it's really amazing to actually see people come in. And
sure.
it was so many different types of people as well.
Oh yeah, it was so many industries. You know, you had the tech industry, obviously because of Breeze Network, but ours from small business, podcast guests, which are from a whole bunch of different backgrounds, and then
Politicians.
Politicians, people like Netflix. Like I don't know if Jackie's listening to this, but Jackie was there. But
Yeah, it was so cool.
it was a good, very wide-ranging crowd, which was what we wanted, actually. We didn't want it to be like just one specific industry.
And we didn't want it to be like a networking session where you're like, selling your services or business or whatever you're selling.
Although you did get sold to.
Oh, yes, I did get sold to.
By Dropbox.
Well done, Dropbox, guys. Well done.
Yes.
Got him hungover, got him drunk, and basically upgraded his Dropbox package.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Noel?
I gotta stop forgetting now. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's
I gotta think about
Forget about this guy.
I gotta think about this. I think just when we launched, because it was just such a rush.
Yeah.
Like from the moment we talked about this idea, and we had this empty warehouse, and we got all this furniture,
out.
and this was like during supply chain issues with like lockdowns as well. So we just came out of lockdowns, and we just had to make this happen while still running the business. And then after the first episode with Phil, and then within a month.
Was it like a relief?
Yeah, it was a month of just like talking about it, filming, and then getting Phil's episode out within like 4 weeks, and it was just
This is
it was
insane.
relief because we were like,
just so much.
It was a short run.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Because Can just kept opening boxes of things to do. It's just like boom, 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 and all this stuff we were doing, and we're like, whoa, it happened.
Got to do it, man.
I know.
Gotta
So it was
do
good.
But yeah, I think it's credit to everyone.
Yeah, like seeing the website come together, like Tony, putting the website together, and my designing it, like our whole team coming together and pulling through and making this happen in like such a short amount of time. On top of all the other stuff we're doing, like that was awesome.
We should probably add some sort of labor costs, our graphic designers, and
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we missed, but it's okay. Like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it anymore on the expenses that we spent.
my accountant's telling me not to spend more money.
No, you're spending it, but I just don't want to see it on the actual. Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, but man, props to you, Noel. Like, you've done a lot, and you're the backbone of this whole podcast. So,
it's nice to be acknowledged.
everyone,
Thank you.
everyone search his face and recognize him and say thank you.
Yeah.
Go up to him in the street.
Find him on the street.
Especially with that hair now. It's hard to
Find me in the
see.
crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks for listening to the Level Asian podcast. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the episode. And why not share it with friends and family who might enjoy it too? Also, make sure you head over to levelasianpodcast.com to join our email list and to receive the latest updates and get notified when the next episode drops. If you know a great guest we should feature, email us at contact@levelasianpodcast.com or DM us on our socials in the show notes. Catch you on the next episode.